The security guard at the Pinnacle Residences noticed the man standing outside the service entrance at 2 in the morning, wearing a $5,000 suit and looking completely lost. Marcus Whitmore, founder and CEO of Whitmore Manufacturing, had lived in the penthouse for 3 years and had never once used the basement laundry facilities because he honestly didn't know they existed. His housekeeper had quit that afternoon after his mother insulted her cooking for the last time, and Marcus had been too proud to ask where she took his clothes. Now he stood holding a garbage bag full of dress shirts that desperately needed washing, having gone through his entire wardrobe in 2 weeks without realizing he should have arranged for a replacement cleaner immediately. "Sir, the building facilities are for residents who don't have in-unit machines," the guard said carefully. "I don't have a machine," Marcus replied, which was technically true since he'd had the hookups in his penthouse converted into a wine closet years ago. The guard looked at him like he was insane but buzzed him through anyway. The basement laundry room was nothing like Marcus had imagined. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in a stark white glow. 6 industrial washing machines lined one wall, and he stared at them like they were alien technology. He'd never actually done his own laundry. Not in college, where he'd paid other students. Not in his first apartment where he'd used a service. Not ever. He was standing there, holding his garbage bag and wondering which machine took credit cards, when he heard footsteps on the stairs. Violet Thompson came down carrying a proper laundry basket, earbuds in, humming along to whatever song was playing. She wore paint-splattered sweatpants and an oversized T-shirt from a 5K charity run, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun. She didn't notice Marcus at first, moving to her usual machine with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. It wasn't until she'd loaded half her clothes that she glanced over and actually jumped. "Jesus," she said, pulling out one earbud. "You scared me." "Sorry," Marcus said, still holding his garbage bag like an idiot. Violet's eyes traveled from his Armani suit to his Italian leather shoes to the trash bag, and her expression shifted from startled to confused to something that might have been amusement. "First time?" she asked. "Is it that obvious? You're wearing a suit at 2 in the morning and your clothes are in a trash bag, so yeah." She turned back to her machine, adding detergent with the casual confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. "Which unit are you in? I haven't seen you before." "The penthouse," Marcus said before he could think better of it. Her hands paused for just a second. "The penthouse, right, the one with the balcony that wraps around the entire floor. That's the one. And you're doing laundry in the basement, apparently." She finished loading her machine and closed the door, then turned to face him fully. "Do you actually know how to use one of these?" Pride warred with desperation, and desperation won. "No." Violet studied him for a moment, and Marcus felt weirdly exposed under her gaze. She had these sharp green eyes that seemed to see right through all his expensive layers to the helpless rich guy underneath. "Okay," she said finally. "Come here. First lesson in basic human survival skills." She walked him through it step by step, sorting colors from whites, checking pockets, measuring detergent, setting the temperature and cycle. Marcus found himself paying attention to more than just the instructions, the way she moved with easy efficiency. The paint stains on her fingers, the small calluses on her hands that suggested she did more than just laundry with them. "What do you do?" he asked as she started his first load. "I'm a muralist," Violet said. "I paint walls, big ones usually, buildings, underpasses, that kind of thing." "That's incredible. I don't think I could paint a stick figure." "It's not that different from what you probably do. Planning, execution, problem solving." She leaned against the machine. What is it that you do, besides not knowing how to do laundry? I run a manufacturing company. We make industrial components. Sounds thrilling, he laughed, surprising himself. It pays the bills. And then some, I'm guessing. She gestured at his suit. That's Armani, right? My ex was really into designer labels. He could spot them from a mile away. Ex-boyfriend. Ex-fiancé, actually. Turns out he was more interested in my potential earning capacity than actual me. He worked in finance, kept pushing me to take corporate jobs instead of doing my art. We broke up 6 months ago. I'm sorry. Violet shrugged. I'm not. Better to find out before the wedding than after. Her machine beeped and she started moving clothes to a dryer. What about you? I'm guessing penthouse life comes with a penthouse girlfriend. No girlfriend. No time, mostly. And the women I meet through work are usually more interested in the portfolio than the person. Sounds lonely. It is, Marcus admitted, and realized he'd never said that out loud before. They stood there in the fluorescent lighting. Two people from completely different worlds, bonding over washing machines at 2 in the morning. When Marcus's cycle finished, Violet showed him how to transfer everything to the dryer, and then they sat on the bench along the wall to wait. So what happened to your housekeeper? Violet asked. She quit. My mother has been staying with me for a few weeks and she can be difficult. Difficult how? Controlling, critical. She has opinions about everything and isn't shy about sharing them. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. She's been after me to date her friends' daughters, women who wear pearls to brunch and talk about charity galas. And you don't want to date them. I want to date someone real, someone who does their own laundry and knows what actual work feels like. He looked at her. Someone like you. Violet raised an eyebrow. That was smooth. Do lines like that usually work in the penthouse? I wouldn't know, I've never tried them, so I'm your guinea pig. You're the first interesting person I've talked to in months. Her expression softened slightly. Okay. That was actually pretty honest. They talked while the dryers ran. Violet told him about the mural she was working on for a community center in Brooklyn, a massive project that would take months to complete. Marcus found himself genuinely fascinated, asking questions about her process, her inspiration, the technical challenges of working on such a large scale. In return, he told her about his company, and was surprised when she asked intelligent questions about manufacturing processes and supply chains. She had a good mind for systems, he realized. She approached her art the same way he approached business, with careful planning and attention to detail. When the dryers finished, Marcus had no idea how to fold a dress shirt properly, so Violet showed him. Her hands moved quickly, creasing and smoothing, and he tried to copy her movements with less success. You'll get better with practice, she said, watching him struggle with a sleeve. Will you be here next week to supervise? I do laundry every Thursday night. Or technically Friday morning, since it's usually this late. Same time next week then, she smiled. You're really going to fire your next housekeeper just to see me? Maybe I'll just do my own laundry from now on, build character. Right, the CEO doing his own laundry. I'll believe it when I see it. But Marcus did show up the next Thursday at 2 in the morning, and the Thursday after that. Violet was there both times, and they fell into an easy rhythm. She'd tease him about his designer clothes and his terrible folding technique. He'd ask about her art and listen to her talk about color theory and composition. Slowly, they started sharing more personal things. Violet lived in a studio apartment on the 8th floor that she could barely afford even with roommates gone. She'd grown up in a small town in Pennsylvania, daughter of a mechanic and a nurse, and had fought her way to New York on scholarships and stubbornness. She'd never been inside a penthouse, had never even been above the 15th floor of the building except to access the roof once. Marcus told her about growing up with money, but not much warmth. His father had built the company from nothing and died young from a heart attack, leaving Marcus to take over at 25. His mother had never recovered from the loss, channeling all her grief and control into her only son's life. "She means well," Marcus said one night, folding a shirt with only moderate incompetence. "She just doesn't understand that I'm not my father. I don't want the same life he had." "What life do you want?" Violet asked. "I don't know yet. Something more than work and obligation." He looked at her. "Something real." The thing was, Marcus knew he was falling for her. Somewhere between learning to separate his darks from his lights and listening to her explain why she preferred spray paint to brushes for outdoor work, he'd fallen completely and utterly in love. It terrified him. But he didn't know if she felt the same way. She was friendly, open, easy to talk to. But she kept a certain distance, like she was holding back. He couldn't tell if it was because of his money or because she just wasn't interested. It was their 6th Thursday night meeting when things shifted. Violet came down the stairs with her laundry basket, but her usual energy was gone. She looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes and paint not just on her hands but in her hair and on her face. "Rough week?" Marcus asked. "Rough month?" She loaded her machine mechanically. The community center project fell through. The funding got pulled because some developer made a better offer on the property. 3 months of work and it's just gone. "Violet, I'm so sorry. And my landlord is raising the rent. Again. I'm already splitting the studio with 2 other people, and I still don't know if I can afford it." She slammed the washing machine door harder than necessary. "I'm starting to think my ex was right. Maybe I should just give up on the art and get a real job." "No," Marcus said firmly. "Don't do that. Easy for you to say. You have a penthouse and a company and more money than you could spend in a lifetime. And I'd trade it all to have half your passion for what you do." He moved closer. "You're talented, Violet. I've looked up your work online. The mural you did in Queens is incredible. The one in the Bronx made the news. You looked up my work." "Of course I did. I wanted to see what you were talking about." He caught her hand. "Don't give up, please." She looked down at their joined hands and something in her expression cracked. "Why do you care? You barely know me." "Because these Thursday nights are the best part of my week. Because you're the only person who talks to me like I'm just a person and not a bank account or a business opportunity. Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the first night we met." Violet was quiet for a long moment. "Marcus, I know it's complicated. I know we're from different worlds, but I don't care about any of that. I care about you. Your mother would hate me." "My mother's opinion stopped mattering to me about 5 weeks ago. I don't know anything about your world. I've never been to a charity gala or whatever it is rich people do. I wouldn't know which fork to use. And I'd never been in a laundromat before I met you. We'll figure it out together." He squeezed her hand gently. "Unless you don't feel the same way, in which case I'll apologize and we can pretend I never said anything." She looked up at him, her green eyes searching his face. "I feel the same way. I've been trying not to because it seemed impossible, but I do." Marcus felt something in his chest expand, warm and bright. Yeah, she smiled, tentative but real. "This is crazy." "Completely insane," he agreed, and then he kissed her. It was gentle at first, questioning, and then Violet's arms came up around his neck, and it deepened into something that made Marcus forget they were standing in a basement laundry room at 2 in the morning. She tasted like coffee and something sweet, and he never wanted to stop kissing her. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Violet laughed. "Well, that happened." "Best laundry night yet," Marcus said, and she laughed harder. They stood there grinning at each other like idiots until Violet's washing machine beeped, and she had to transfer her clothes to the dryer. Marcus did the same with his, and then they sat close together on the bench, her hand in his. "So what do we do now?" Violet asked. "I'd like to take you on a date. A real one, not in a basement." "Where would we even go? I'm guessing we don't exactly frequent the same restaurants." "There's this pizza place in the village I used to go to in college. Best slices in the city. How about we start there?" She looked surprised. "Really? You want pizza? I want to be with you. The location is secondary." They went on their first real date 3 days later. Marcus wore jeans and a regular button-down shirt, no suit, and met Violet at the pizza place. It was tiny, cramped, with mismatched chairs and paper plates, and Marcus loved every second of it. They talked for hours, sharing slices and stealing each other's toppings, and it felt more natural than any of the expensive restaurant dates he'd been on before. After pizza, they walked through Washington Square Park, and Marcus held her hand like they were normal people on a normal date. No bodyguards, no photographers, no expectations, just them. "This is nice," Violet said, leaning against him slightly. "Feels real." "It is real," Marcus assured her. They started seeing each other regularly after that, though they kept it quiet. Marcus wasn't ready to deal with his mother's reaction, or the inevitable media attention that would come if people found out he was dating someone outside his usual social circle. Violet understood, though he could tell sometimes it bothered her. "I'm not ashamed of you," he told her one night as they lay on her tiny futon, squeezed in with her roommates out. "I just want to keep this private for a little while, keep it ours." "I get it," she said, though her voice was careful. "I just don't want to be a secret forever." "You won't be." "I promise." He meant it. Marcus had never been more sure of anything than he was of his feelings for Violet. She made him laugh. She challenged him. She saw through all his walls and defenses to the person underneath, and she liked that person. Maybe even loved him, though neither of them had said it yet. The first real test came when his mother cornered him one morning over breakfast. "I've arranged dinner with Catherine Aldridge and her daughter this Friday," Whitmore announced, buttering her toast with precise movements. "She's a lovely girl. Wellesley graduate, sits on 3 charity boards. I can't make it Friday," Marcus said without looking up from his coffee. "Why not? I have plans." "What plans?" "Personal plans." His mother's eyes narrowed. "Marcus, you're 32 years old. It's time you settled down with an appropriate woman, someone from a good family who understands our world." "Someone you can control, you mean? Don't be crude. I'm thinking of your future, of the company's future." "The company is fine, and my future is my own business." "Are you seeing someone?" Eleanor asked sharply. "Is that what this is about?" Marcus considered lying, but he was tired of it. "Yes, I'm seeing someone." "Who?" "Her name is Violet. She's an artist." The temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. "An artist. How much money does her family have?" "I have no idea, and I don't care." "Marcus, be reasonable. You need someone suitable, someone who can handle the social obligations, the expectations, the lifestyle." "I need someone who makes me happy. Violet makes me happy. For now, perhaps. But what happens when the novelty wears off, when she realizes you live in completely different worlds?" His mother's voice was cold. "I've seen this before. These relationships never work. Then I guess we'll have to be the exception." He left before she could say more, texting Violet that he was coming over. She was working on a piece in her apartment, her hands covered in charcoal, and she took one look at his face and set down her supplies. "What happened?" "I told my mother about us. It went about as well as expected." Violet bit her lip. "What did she say?" "That we're from different worlds and it won't work." He pulled her close, not caring about the charcoal transferring to his shirt. "She's wrong." "Is she?" Violet's voice was small. "Marcus, maybe we should think about this." "I don't want to cause problems with your family." You're not causing problems. My mother's controlling nature is causing problems. He tilted her chin up. Do you want this, us? Yes, but... No buts. Either you want this or you don't. I want this, she said firmly. I want you. Then that's all that matters. But it wasn't quite that simple. Over the next few weeks, the tension with his mother escalated. Millionaire started making pointed comments about inappropriate relationships and gold diggers. She showed up at his office unannounced to discuss his poor choices. She even had her lawyer draw up a prenuptial agreement just in case, she said, as if Marcus was about to elope at any moment. The stress was getting to both of them. Violet threw herself into her work, taking every commission she could find to prove she didn't need Marcus's money. Marcus worked longer hours to avoid going home and facing his mother's disapproval. They still had their Thursday night laundry meetings, but the easy joy had gone out of them. They were both exhausted, both stretched thin, and it was starting to show. Maybe your mother is right, Violet said one night, folding her clothes with mechanical precision. Maybe this is too hard. Don't say that. Marcus, look at us. We're miserable. You're fighting with your family because of me, and I'm working myself to death trying to prove I'm good enough for you. You don't have to prove anything. Don't I? Your mother thinks I'm a gold digger. Your business associates probably think I'm a phase, and maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong in your world. Then I'll leave it, Marcus said immediately. I'll sell the company, move into a normal apartment, and we'll build a life that works for both of us. She stared at him. You can't do that. Why not? Because it's who you are. You built that company with your father. You employ hundreds of people. You can't just walk away from that. I can if it means being with you. Violet's eyes filled with tears. That's not fair. I can't be the reason you give up everything. You wouldn't be. You'd be the reason I finally start living for myself instead of everyone else's expectations. She was quiet for a long moment, tears sliding down her cheeks. I love you. I'm completely in love with you, and it terrifies me. I love you too, Marcus said, pulling her into his arms. And I know it's scary, but we can figure this out. Together. They held each other in the basement laundry room, and Marcus knew they were at a turning point. Either they found a way to make this work, or they lost each other. The solution came from an unexpected source. Marcus's business partner, David, cornered him at the office the next week. You look like hell. What's going on? Marcus considered brushing him off, but David had known him since college. Woman trouble. The artist, you know about her. Marcus, you've been walking around with a dopey smile for 2 months. Of course I know about her. David sat on the edge of the desk. Is it serious? I want to marry her, and the problem is, my mother hates her. Violet thinks she doesn't belong in my world. And I'm caught in the middle trying to make everyone happy. David was quiet for a moment. You know what your father told me once? He said the only person who has to live your life is you. Everyone else gets opinions, but you get the vote. He stood up. If you love her, fight for her. And screw everyone who has a problem with it. It was exactly what Marcus needed to hear. He went home and had the fight with his mother he'd been avoiding for weeks. It was ugly, with raised voices and accusations and years of resentment spilling out. Millionaire called him ungrateful and foolish. Marcus called her controlling and cold. They said things that couldn't be unsaid. In the end, Marcus told her she had a choice. She could accept Violet and be part of his life, or she could keep her prejudices and lose him. Then he packed a bag and left. He showed up at Violet's apartment at midnight, and she took one look at him and knew. You didn't, she said. I did. Marcus, you can't choose me over your mother. I'm not choosing you over her. I'm choosing us over her control. He set down his bag. I love you, Violet. I want to build a life with you. And if that means my mother isn't part of it for a while, then that's what it means. Violet was crying again, but this time she was also smiling. You're crazy. About you, absolutely. She kissed him, and Marcus felt something in his chest settle. This was right. This was what he wanted. He moved into a regular apartment the next week, something smaller and more practical than the penthouse. Violet helped him pick out furniture, laughing at his complete inability to judge whether a couch would fit through a doorway. They painted the walls together, and Marcus discovered he was terrible at cutting in along the ceiling. "This is hopeless," he said, surveying his crooked line. "It's charming," Violet countered. "Character building. I'm 32. My character is already built. Then we're renovating it." She kissed his paint-splattered nose. "You're doing great." His mother didn't call for 3 weeks. Marcus tried not to let it hurt, but it did. Whatever their issues, she was still his mother, but he meant what he'd said. He wouldn't give up Violet for anyone. Meanwhile, his relationship with Violet deepened in ways he hadn't known were possible. They fell into easy routines, morning coffee together, evenings walking through the city, weekends exploring museums or trying new restaurants or just staying in and talking for hours. Violet showed him her world, took him to artist studios in Brooklyn where her friends worked in converted warehouses, brought him to street art festivals where he learned to appreciate graffiti as a legitimate art form, taught him to see the city through different eyes. Marcus showed her his world too, but carefully. Small dinner parties with his business partners instead of big galas, quiet lunches instead of formal events. He wanted her to feel comfortable, not overwhelmed. "You don't have to shield me," she told him one night. "I can handle the fancy stuff if I need to. I know you can. I just don't want you to have to. Marcus, if we're going to make this work long term, I need to understand all of your life, not just the parts you think I can handle." She was right, and he knew it. So he started bringing her to more events. Company dinners, charity functions, industry conferences. Violet held her own beautifully, asking intelligent questions and charming everyone she met. Marcus watched her work a room and fell even more in love. After one particularly long gala, they collapsed into bed exhausted. "That wasn't so bad," Violet said, kicking off her heels. "Though I still don't get why they served 5 courses when 3 would have been plenty. It's about showing off. Who can be more excessive? Seems wasteful." "It is." He pulled her close. "You were amazing tonight. Even Mrs. Henderson liked you, and she doesn't like anyone. She told me about her grandson. Did you know he's doing art therapy with veterans? We talked for 20 minutes about different techniques." "Of course you did." "You can find common ground with anyone. Not your mother," the words hung in the air. Eleanor still hadn't called, and Marcus knew it was eating at both of them. "She'll come around," he said, hoping it was true. "She just needs time, or she won't, and you'll have to live with that." "Then I'll live with it. I chose you, Violet. I'll keep choosing you." She kissed him softly. "I love you. I love you too." The breakthrough came 6 months into their relationship. Marcus was at the office when his assistant buzzed through. "Your mother is here to see you." Marcus's heart jumped. "Send her in." Eleanor Whitmore walked into his office looking older than he remembered. The past months had clearly been hard on her too, and seeing it made Marcus's chest ache. "Mother, Marcus." She sat down carefully. "You look well." "Thank you, you do too." They observed the formalities, both dancing around the real reason she was there. Finally, Eleanor said, "I'd like to meet her, properly." "Violet?" "Yes, your girlfriend." The words sounded strange in his mother's formal tone. "If she's important to you, then I should get to know her." Marcus studied his mother carefully. "Why the change of heart?" "Because you're my son, and I've been miserable without you. And because Catherine Aldridge hasn't stopped talking about how happy you looked at the Morrison benefit with your artist girlfriend." Eleanor's mouth twitched slightly. Apparently Violet made quite an impression discussing public art funding. "She does that. So I hear." His mother straightened her shoulders. I'm not promising I'll understand your choice, but I'm willing to try. It was more than Marcus had hoped for. Okay, I'll arrange dinner. Somewhere neutral. Not the club. Definitely not the club. They met at a quiet Italian restaurant the following week. Marcus was more nervous than he'd been for any business negotiation, and Violet looked equally anxious in a simple black dress she'd borrowed from a friend. "It'll be fine," he whispered as they waited for Alina to arrive. "What if she hates me? She won't hate you. She might be difficult, but she won't hate you." Alina arrived precisely on time, dressed impeccably as always. She greeted Marcus with a kiss on the cheek, then turned to Violet. "Miss Thompson, thank you for joining us. Thank you for inviting me, Mrs. Whitmore." They sat down, and the first few minutes were awkward as they navigated menus and small talk. But then Alina asked about Violet's work, and something shifted. Violet talked about her current project, a mural for a children's hospital. Alina listened, asking surprisingly insightful questions about the process and challenges. They discussed color psychology, how art could help with healing, the importance of accessible beauty. Marcus sat back and watched two of the most important women in his life find common ground and felt something in his chest unclench. By the end of dinner, Alina was almost smiling. "You're not what I expected," she told Violet. "Is that good or bad? It's promising." Alina turned to Marcus. "She's intelligent and articulate. I can see why you like her." "I love her, Mother, not like." "Yes, I can see that too." Alina gathered her purse. "I'd like to see you both again. Perhaps you could come to the house for brunch next month." "We'd like that," Marcus said. After Alina left, Violet let out a long breath. "Did that really just happen?" "It really did. Your mother is terrifying, but I think I might like her." "She definitely likes you. That's the closest to approval you'll get." Things weren't perfect after that. Alina still made occasional pointed comments, and Violet still felt out of place at some events. But they were trying, all of them, to make it work. Marcus's business partners fully accepted Violet, and she became a regular at company functions. She brought a different energy to his world, making the stiff events more human. People opened up around her, and Marcus watched his professional relationships deepen as a result. Violet's friends accepted Marcus too, though some were initially suspicious of his money. He won them over by showing up to help with installations, getting paint in his hair and asking genuine questions about their work. He started quietly funding some of the community art projects Violet cared about, through grants that didn't have his name attached. "You don't have to do that," Violet said when she figured it out. "I know. I want to. This matters to you, so it matters to me." A year into their relationship, Marcus took Violet back to the basement laundry room where they'd met. "What are we doing here?" she asked, confused. "I haven't done laundry here in months. I wanted to come back to where it started." He took her hands. "This is where you taught me how to be a normal person, where we fell in love over washing machines and dryers." "Marcus." He got down on one knee and Violet's eyes went wide. "Violet Thompson, you've changed my entire life. You've shown me what actually matters, what real love feels like, what it means to be myself instead of what everyone expects. I know we're from different worlds, but I don't care about any of that. I just want you." He pulled out a ring, simple and elegant. "Will you marry me?" Violet was crying, nodding before she could even speak. "Yes. Yes, of course, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss her, and they held each other in the same basement where they'd met, coming full circle. The wedding was 6 months later, a blend of both their worlds. They held it at a gallery space in Chelsea, with exposed brick walls that Violet's artist friends decorated with temporary murals. The guest list included CEOs and street artists, old money and working-class families, all mingling together. Alina walked Marcus down the aisle, and Violet's father walked her. They wrote their own vows, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house when Marcus promised to always do his own laundry, and Violet promised to show him new ways to see the world. At the reception, Marcus's business partner gave a toast about how Violet had made Marcus human again. Violet's best friend gave a toast about how Marcus had believed in Violet when she'd stopped believing in herself. Eleanor, surprisingly, gave a brief speech welcoming Violet to the family and admitting she'd been wrong to judge her. "You've made my son happier than I've ever seen him," Eleanor said, her voice tight with emotion. "And for that, I'm grateful." Marcus and Violet danced their first dance to an indie song none of the older guests recognized, and they didn't care. This was their day, their love, their life they were building together. They honeymooned in Italy, splitting time between museums in Florence and small villages in Tuscany. Violet painted watercolors of the countryside while Marcus read books he'd been meaning to get to for years. They ate pasta and drank wine and made love in a tiny bed and breakfast that cost more per night than Violet used to make in a week. "I could get used to this," she said, lying in bed watching the sunset through the window. "The expensive hotels. No, being with you, having this time." She rolled over to face him. "Promise me we'll always make time for this, for us, even when life gets crazy. I promise. Always." When they got back to New York, they moved into a new place together. Not a penthouse, but a beautiful loft in Tribeca with big windows and high ceilings. It had space for Violet's studio and Marcus's home office, and it felt like theirs in a way the penthouse never had. They settled into married life with surprising ease. Marcus learned to cook, badly, and Violet learned to tolerate his terrible folding technique. They hosted dinner parties where artists debated with business people about capitalism and creativity. They volunteered together at the Children's Hospital, where Violet had done her mural. Marcus cut back his hours at the company, promoting younger employees and delegating more. He wanted time for his life, not just his work. David supported the change completely, taking on more responsibilities himself. "You've earned this," David told him. "Your father would be proud." 2 years into their marriage, Violet announced she was pregnant. Marcus cried when she told him, holding her close and feeling overwhelmed with joy. They'd talked about kids, but he hadn't realized how much he wanted them until that moment. The pregnancy was smooth, and Violet worked almost until her due date, determined to finish a major commission. Marcus worried constantly, but she just laughed at him. "Women have been doing this forever. I'm fine." "You're painting on scaffolding 30 feet in the air, with a harness. I'm being safe." Their daughter was born on a Thursday night, and Marcus couldn't help laughing at the timing. "Thursday nights are our lucky nights," he told Violet as she held their newborn. "Guess we should have named her Thursday then." They named her Maya instead, and she had Violet's green eyes and Marcus's dark hair. Marcus had never felt anything like the fierce love that consumed him the first time he held his daughter. Eleanor was a surprisingly devoted grandmother, showing up with expensive baby gifts and unsolicited advice that was actually helpful for once. She and Violet had found their own relationship, built on mutual respect and shared love for Marcus and Maya. "Your mother is teaching me about trust funds," Violet told Marcus one afternoon while nursing Maya. "Should I be worried? Probably. We're conspiring." But she was smiling, and Marcus knew it was a good sign. They settled into the chaos of new parenthood, sleepless nights and endless diapers and the overwhelming love that came with a baby. Marcus took paternity leave, and they figured it out together, stumbling through it as partners. On Maya's first birthday, they had a party in the park with both their communities mixed together. Business executives sat on blankets next to street artists, watching Maya destroy a cake with her tiny hands. "We did good," Violet said, leaning against Marcus. "We did amazing." "Think we can do it again?" He looked at her. "You want another one, maybe, eventually. Maya needs a sibling to torment. Let's survive this first year, then we'll talk." But they did want another, and 2 years later their son was born. They named him Adrian, and he had Violet's stubborn streak and Marcus's business sense even as a toddler, negotiating for extra cookies with impressive determination. Life got busier with 2 kids, but they made it work. Marcus's company thrived under his less intensive management style, proving he'd been right to step back. Violet's career exploded, with commissions coming from around the country. She turned down the ones that would take her away from the family for too long, but she was still creating, still contributing, still herself. They still did laundry on Thursday nights sometimes, even though they had machines in their apartment now. It was their thing, their tradition, a reminder of where they'd started. "Remember when you showed up with a garbage bag and no idea what you were doing?" Violet asked one Thursday, folding tiny clothes. "I knew exactly what I was doing. I was falling in love with you. You didn't even know me." "Didn't matter. I took one look at you and knew my life was about to change." She kissed him over the laundry basket. "Best change ever, best change ever," he confirmed. Marcus's mother passed away when Maya was 5 and Adrian was 3. It was sudden, a stroke that took her quickly. Despite their rocky beginning, Marcus grieved deeply, and Violet held him through it. "She loved you," Violet said at the funeral. "She just didn't always know how to show it. She loved you too. She told me last month that you were the best thing that ever happened to our family." "She said that, she did. Said you brought life back into our lives." They spread Aliner's ashes in the garden she'd tended at the family estate, and Marcus made peace with the complicated relationship they'd had. She'd tried in the end, and that mattered. Life moved forward. Maya started school and showed an interest in both art and business, wanting to build companies that made beautiful things. Adrian was quieter, more thoughtful, with a love of books and stories. Marcus and Violet encouraged both their passions, giving them room to discover who they wanted to be. On their 10-year anniversary, Marcus took Violet back to Italy, leaving the kids with Violet's parents. They retraced their honeymoon route, older and more tired but somehow more in love than they'd been a decade before. "Can you believe it's been 10 years?" Violet asked, sitting at a cafe in Florence. "Feels like yesterday and also forever," Marcus said. "I can't remember life before you." "Sure you can. Suits and penthouses and doing whatever your mother said." "That wasn't life. That was existing. You showed me what living actually feels like." She reached across the table for his hand. "You saved me too, you know. I was giving up when we met, ready to quit on my dreams. You made me believe in myself again." "We saved each other then. Best partnership ever." They renewed their vows on that trip, just the two of them in a small chapel in Tuscany. No guests, no fancy ceremony, just them and their love and their promises to keep choosing each other. Back in New York, life continued its beautiful chaos. Marcus eventually stepped down as CEO, staying on the board but giving the day-to-day operations to younger blood. He started a foundation focused on funding public art projects, and Violet helped run it. They worked together daily, and somehow never got sick of each other. Maya went to college for business and art, determined to bridge both worlds. Adrian became a writer, publishing his first novel at 23. Marcus and Violet attended every event, every opening, every success, bursting with pride. On their 25th anniversary, their kids threw them a party. The same gallery where they'd gotten married, now filled with their grown children, old friends, and the life they'd built together. 25 years of dealing with Dad's laundry, Maya joked in her toast. "Mom deserves a medal." I taught him to fold, Violet called back. He's almost competent now. Everyone laughed and Marcus pulled Violet close. Still the best decision I ever made, he whispered. Walking into that laundry room, you mean getting lost in your own building? That too. They danced surrounded by everyone they loved. Two people from different worlds who'd met in the middle and built something beautiful together. Years later, when Marcus was 60 and Violet was 58, they moved out of the city to a farmhouse upstate. They kept a small apartment in Manhattan for when the kids and grandkids visited, but mostly they enjoyed the quiet. Violet had a studio in the barn where she still painted, her work as vibrant as ever. Marcus kept busy with the foundation and consulting for the company occasionally. They had chickens and a garden and time to just be together. On Thursday nights, they still did laundry together, even though it was just the two of them now and they barely generated enough for a full load. We could skip a week, Marcus said, sorting socks. Never. This is our thing. Doing laundry is our thing. Meeting in the middle is our thing. This is just how we remember. She kissed him softly. I love you, Marcus Whitmore. I love you, Violet Whitmore. Have since the moment you taught me to measure detergent. They finished their laundry and went to bed in their cozy farmhouse, still holding hands after all these years. Two people who should never have worked but did, perfectly and completely, because they'd been willing to meet in the middle. And every Thursday night, they chose each other all over again, just like they had in a basement laundry room a lifetime ago.